Against the backdrop of the misty forest, shrouded in rain, the temple rises. There is an oppressive silence, broken only by the sound of rain falling on the stone steps. As they approach the gate, a group of men in black robes respectfully call out to the temple's occupants, apologizing for the intrusion and asking permission to enter. The rain intensifies, jets of water creating circles on the puddles, emphasizing the tension in the air and the readiness for the unknown. Inside the temple, a young man stands. He is clearly disturbed by what is happening, but stares resolutely ahead, keeping his thoughts to himself. The gathered people watch him with respect and interest. Suddenly, a black-clad figure emerges from the shadows, its commanding gaze and lightning bolt behind its back emphasizing strength and authority. With a serious expression, the man notices the young man's unexpected presence in the temple, expressing his surprise. The gathered people ask the young man for shelter from the rain, hoping for his kindness and hospitality. The young man listens quietly, but his eyes are wary. He is trying to understand who these people are and why they are here. The leader of the group feels respected by his students, despite the age difference. Perhaps they believe that he is guarding this temple and keeping it in order. The young man, observing the group, concludes that they seem to be decent people who mean no harm. He tells them that he found this temple by chance a few years ago and has been living here ever since. The young man invites the guests to make themselves comfortable, but warns them that he needs one of the rooms for his personal use. The leader thanks the young man for his hospitality, promising to honor his wishes. He instructs his disciples to choose places to sleep, but not to come too close to the young man's room so as not to disturb his peace. The disciples confirm his words, accepting the instructions with full respect. In the rain, the disciples begin to disperse from the temple, following the leader's orders and preparing for bed for the night. The young man notices the clan symbol on the clothing of the guests and realizes that they all belong to the same group, wondering what they might be doing. The young man realizes that he has more important things to do than take care of his guests. He heads towards one of the rooms, walking confidently through the rainy courtyard. As he approaches the doors, he opens them loudly, as if he has long been accustomed to this ritual. Inside, in the warm light of the room, he announces cheerfully, "It's dinner time for my little ones." His face lights up with a smile. He is clearly pleased and enthusiastic. With his playful gait and ringing laughter, the young man calls his boys to the table, anticipating how they will eat. There are huge vessels on the floor, and he eagerly opens the lid of one of them, observing what is inside. Inside the vessel are small creatures, his babies, waiting for dinner. The boy, apologizing for his late visit, offers food to his guests, holding a large clay vessel. He removes the lid to treat them to something special. Inside turns out to be an unusual creature, a large spider with the name Black Earth Tiger. Originating from Hainan, this tarantula grows up to 20 centimeters and has a distinctive coloration reminiscent of a tiger. The boy addresses the spider by name, offering it food, and marvels at its appetite. He notes how his pet, which used to be the size of a fingernail, is now much larger, and this makes him happy. After feeding him, he decides it's time to pay attention to the next pet, opening another drawer. The boy opens the drawer to find a Bavanli cave gecko lying on a soft bedding, which is native to the area and has distinctive stripes on its body. With visible admiration, the boy examines the gecko, calling it cute. He rejoices at the opportunity to observe the pet, for in his previous life he barely had enough money for himself, but now he has the opportunity to surround himself with such creatures. Suddenly, the boy gently touches the gecko with his finger, but it reacts violently, shocking him. The boy recoils fearfully from the gecko, realizing that his past life as a streamer is not easily forgotten. A black screen pops up saying that he was a streamer, and the next thing he remembers is that he had 1 million subscribers on a channel called Thrill Collector, where the main content was venomous animals. The boy recalls fans asking for a live broadcast to celebrate reaching 1 million subscribers, which was the beginning of his adventure. There is growing outrage in the comments to his video, with subscribers questioning why the snake has not yet been found and even suggesting that they are being duped. They demand proof and the appearance of the black mamba on the screen, hinting at the complexity of the task. The hero, sitting in his apartment, is disappointed to realize that he has failed to find the black mamba. He ironically remarks that such snakes are not yard cats that can be caught anywhere. The protagonist sits on the couch in his room, rubbing his neck tiredly, and says that he will rest for a while before going out to look for the snake again. Messages from viewers pop up on his phone screen, encouraging him to keep going and commenting on how exciting this game is. He stands up, stretching and looking around the room, wondering why it is so hard to find the snake, as if it were a challenge. Joking questions pop up in viewer messages. What happens if a snake is in the house? What should you do if it bites? Someone even suggests just accepting death. At one point, he notices a black mamba lurking on the refrigerator. Reaching out, he looks at the snake, but instantly feels the bite. the venom spreads through his body. The viewers in the chat room panic, not knowing what has happened, and rush in with alarming messages. Terrified, realizing the danger of the situation, the protagonist soon loses consciousness and falls, dying on the spot. After the incident with the black mamba, the protagonist, already in another place, is surprised to hold a small yellow lizard in his hands. He humorously remarks how funny it is that despite his futile attempts to find the snake, one has been around all along. A man in long dark clothes with his hair piled high stands at the door and knocks, clearly waiting politely for someone to open it for him. The protagonist, hearing the knock, goes to the door and, a little surprised, opens it. In front of him is the very man who, judging by his clothes and behavior, clearly belongs to the upper class. He thanks the hero for his kindness and invites him to join his family for dinner. The young man reacts dumbfounded at the news of the captured deer, clearly not expecting to hear such news. His face expresses surprise and slight confusion as he utters a deer. Immediately, a craving for fresh meat overwhelms him. He imagines something delicious and appetizing. However, upon reflection, he remembers his past meals and, losing his composure, apologizes to those around him with a sad look, remembering how he only ate snakes and lizards. Feeling grateful for the opportunity to eat normally, the young man promises that he will be forever grateful for this treat, cheering himself and those around him on. The man he thanks only grins, beckoning him to follow. At night, rain begins to fall. A fire is lit in the camp, near which meat is roasting on a large stick, creating a cozy scene where our hero watches the cooking process with admiration and impatience, not hiding his emotions. The man asks the young man to be patient, for the meat must roast a little longer, and while the meat is cooking, he decides to ask the young man a question. The young man notices with an expression of slight embarrassment that the guest seems to have realized his insatiable interest in the meat that is roasting on the fire. He is slightly embarrassed and nervous, but responds respectfully, ready to answer the guest's questions. A man observing the young man asks a few questions. He wonders how long he has been living alone in the temple and how old he is. The young man, hesitating, replies that he is probably about 14 years old, but because of an old head injury he doesn't remember exactly. He tries to hide the truth so as not to arouse suspicion. The man is surprised to realize that the young man lives here alone and asks another question about his occupation. The young man explains that he has no special skills, so he earns money by catching snakes and selling their skins. This elicits respect from the man, who admires the young man's bravery in catching such dangerous creatures at such an age. The young man modestly replies that he is used to it by now. The first piece of meat is finally ready, and the old man offers it to the young man, believing that he is the hungriest of all. The young man accepts the piece with sincere gratitude, barely holding back tears of joy as he admits that he hasn't eaten real meat in a long time. He enthusiastically dives into the meal, savoring every bite. The protagonist happily devours the meat, filled with a sense of happiness, as if he hasn't eaten normal food in forever. His satisfied face does not escape the attention of the two men, who watch him with light amusement, noting his excellent appetite. A man with black hair decides to share with the young man the reason they are here, and starts the conversation by noting that they are looking for something unusual. The intrigued hero is a bit surprised when he hears the question about something strange. When the man clarifies exactly what it is that they are looking for that is strange, the old man adds firmly that since their young friend has taken them in, he should tell the truth. The man with the beard, turning to his companion, confirms that the hero deserves to know that they are here to find a very rare blue-spotted scolopendra. The young man listens in confusion as it is explained to him that they are looking for a giant scolopendra with bright blue spots on its body. He is clearly shocked by its size. He is horrified to clarify just how big it is, and the man next to him replies that the adult specimen could swallow him whole. The guy is shocked, not believing that a scolopendra could be that huge. He begins to realize that he may have traveled not just back a few hundred years, but to a completely different world. The man next to him says with a smile that frightens him a little. A wise old man with a white beard calms him down, explaining that they came here precisely to catch this creature. The boy is surprised, assuming that they want to keep the scolopendra in their home. The elder and his companion laugh at such an idea, finding it absurd. They explain that they need the scolopendra to create a cure. The young man is still puzzled and does not understand how they are going to make a cure from such a dangerous creature. He begins to doubt that these people are simple drug dealers. He finds it hard to believe that something useful can be made from a scolopendra. The elder tells him that despite all the difficulties, they want to try to get the creature to help his granddaughter, who is seriously ill and can't even get out of bed. The boy listens anxiously and, after clarifying about the granddaughter, gets the answer that it is about the elder's daughter. He realizes that those are desperately searching for a remedy to cure her, but doubts that the scolopendra will be able to help. He then reasons that the poor scolopendra is likely to die, but remembering the hospitality of these men, he decides he must help them. He cautiously asks the man, but is immediately caught off guard when he is asked the counter-question of whether he has seen her. The guy is slightly embarrassed and admits that no, he's never met her. The young man says he has never seen a giant scolopendra with blue spots, but his smile suggests that he knows something. Then, the boy decisively says that he seems to know where it might be. The hero reflects on his unique ability to understand reptiles, even if he did die from a poisonous snake bite. His knowledge of venomous creatures surpasses all others, and he notes that out of 20,000 species of reptiles, 10,000 are venomous. All of this knowledge is stored in his head. He heads confidently to the book he picks up off the floor and reminds himself that millipedes are no exception to his field of knowledge. When it comes to poisonous creatures, he is truly invincible on the subject. With shining eyes, he opens the book, showing his confidence and determination to use his knowledge to its fullest potential. The young man, holding the book firmly in his hands as if drawing strength and knowledge from it, realizes that he has finally found the information he needs. His gaze is filled with confidence and determination, and with a slight chuckle, he declares that he knows where to find the giant scolopendra they have been looking for. The man asks if it is true, and the old man wonders where it happened. The young man reflects thoughtfully on what he has heard. He then asks where and when the search took place. He is told that the search was conducted to the north and east, mostly during the day, with special attention to the area near the river. After getting the gist of it, the young man realizes the reason for what is happening. He notes that it is not surprising that no one has come across the scolopendra, and confidently declares that everything is now clear to him. We are told about millipedes, which are representatives of arthropods. They have a wide range of territorial activity, but need shelter to maintain temperature and humidity. Interestingly, unlike most insects, millipedes have a weak membrane and breathing holes on the surface of the shell, which makes them dislike being in water. These creatures need high humidity but cannot tolerate large amounts of water. In places without water, they won't live long. A young man explains that the giant scolopendra probably lives in the jungle and not by the river. One is surprised, as he had information that they live near a river or in trees. The young man points out that you can find small scolopendras in such places, but they are looking for a huge one. If the scolopendra is that big, a rotten tree or a place under a rock by the river would not suit it, as it would not be able to hide there. The men looked at each other, trying to understand what was happening. The man wonders where they should look for the scolopendra. He promises a reward if they are directed to the right place. The young man confidently points west, adding that they should look near the mountains. He explains that centipedes rest under warm rocks during the day and come out at night to search for food. Under the cover of night, a group of men set out into the mountains. A man standing on top of a rock observes what is happening. A member of the group expresses doubt, asking if the young man could have made a mistake, but the leader responds with a question, indicating his confidence in their actions. A group of people are wrapping up their day in the woods. The leader orders a signal arrow to be launched to alert the others. A bright flare is fired in the night sky, illuminating the surrounding area. Around the campfire, the group members discuss the boy who, despite his lack of experience, may have pointed them in the right direction. They are amazed at his intelligence and hopeful of his knowledge. Leela reflects on his daughter Wa-un, who was prophesied to be a great talent of the Tang clan, and worries that the heavens have taken her to their place. The elder returns and is greeted. He asks about the results and is told that there are none. The elder also notifies that they haven't found anything either. He's concerned about Wa-un's condition, which may not last more than 3 months. Doubts are growing about being able to find the scolopendra in 10 days. Father and son discuss how they couldn't find any trace of the critter. The son suggests traveling south in search of it. The old man agrees, noting that there really isn't a soul in the area. Suddenly he realizes that this is the key, the absence of any creatures. With surprise and joy, they realize they are in the right place. The man asks if his father felt anything, but the man replies that it is precisely the absence of the presence of any creature. They realize that there is really no one here. The elder begins to realize that they are at their destination, for the past 3 days they have found nothing at this stone mountain. For 3 days they have found no signs of life. The man notices the lack of animal tracks and wonders about it. Suddenly he realizes that this may be a clue. The elder confirms the hunch, pointing out that in such a large area, the absence of animals seems strange. They conclude that the creatures have all either escaped or been eaten by the scolopendra. The elder confidently declares that the monster they're looking for is here, and it will help heal Wa-un. The man was overjoyed, for they are finally at their destination. Soon, everyone feels a shivering sensation. They are panicked and don't realize what is happening. One of them exclaims, surprised at what is happening. Suddenly the ground begins to shake, causing people to back away. They scream in fear and incomprehension. An explosion raises debris and flames into the air, causing more chaos. The elder, watching what is happening, wonders what is wrong. At this time, a huge red paw suddenly crashes to the ground. One of them, stunned by what is happening, whispers of heavenly powers as he looks at what is happening around him. The group stands, surrounded by floating debris, trying to realize what they are facing. The elder is surprised to realize that something significant is standing before him. A giant scolopendra appears, shattering the ground around it with its massive claws. Its red eyes gleam in the darkness, giving an intimidating impression. At night, under the light of the moon, there are loud sounds of destruction, and someone notices the scolopendra rampaging about. A young man, lying in the dark, ponders the size of the creature, assuming it is so huge that it could swallow a man. He is amazed and interested in what is happening, his thoughts busy pondering the magnitude of the creature. The moonlit night illuminates the mountainous landscape, creating an atmosphere of mystery and danger. A group of people surround the defeated body of a scolopendra. They stand in a circle, examining the huge monster that now lies motionless on the ground. An old man opens a box containing a glowing crystal of the giant scolopendra. He explains that it can be used to heal Waun. There are people standing around him, listening intently to his words. The man turns to his father, suggesting that he take everyone who wasn't injured with him and head to Sichuan. He adds that there are matters that need attention, and mentions hatred and mercy. The old man agrees, admitting that he's been consumed with thoughts of Waun. He notes that the young man has been a great help, and asks to hear his wish. The leader offers to take care of the wounded warriors in the village, while he himself stays with the young man. Meanwhile, the young man, surrounded by the small creatures, ponders what to do next. He assumes that he will be interested to hear about what has happened. At the same time, the young man was not alone, but in the company of small insects, not realizing what he should do now. Young is surprised to discover that overnight he has become a father to several small scolopendras. After his forays, he returns home and puts the eggs on his bedside table. The next morning, all the eggs had already hatched, and the cute, furry creatures were all around him. He hadn't expected them to come into the world so quickly. The little scolopendras are coiled around him, and he tries to handle them. At first he is amused, but then he realizes that these little ones consider him their mother and don't want to get away from him. The young man tries to coax them to move away a bit, but the scolopendras cling to him even tighter. He realizes that he now has a new, unexpected concern. Last night, the man, a young man as the thrill collector, went in search of a giant scolopendra that was rumored to be able to swallow a man. He was determined to quench his curiosity and traveled to a dark forest where there was a cave where he assumed the monster was hiding. Inside the cave, he encountered an unexpected foe that was the size of his fist. A battle broke out, and the man wasted no time in repelling the attack using his agility and wit. In the process of fighting, he dropped a burning torch that illuminated the space around him. After an intense battle, he fell to the ground exhausted, but with a smile on his face he noted that everything had gone perfectly. He was able to find 3 eggs that probably belonged to a scolopendra. Overjoyed at his find, he noted that if the rain had not stopped, he would never have been able to find anything. The young man, determined, decides not to give in to his emotions. He reminds himself that now is not the time to relax, and is certain that he must go back and take care of his new friends. Tying the knot tighter, he decides to head home to the temple. With a smile, he turns to the little scolopendras, promising to bathe them in warm water soon. Although he is unsuccessful in finding the giant blue-spotted scolopendra, he is glad he saved the little ones. However, he soon notices that the scolopendras are not going to budge from him, and ponders how uncomfortable this is. He realizes that they won't eat until they're watered, and there's no need to worry about food. But an idea occurs to him: if he takes a dip in the water, they might get off of him. The smile on his face suggests that he is ready for this plan. The scolopendra on his shoulder makes a surprised sound as he decides it's time for a swim. Soon, the leader finally reaches the temple where the young man lived. He takes a step forward and a light wind rises around him. Inside the building, he knocks on the door, asking if the young man is there. Receiving no answer, he repeats the question, frowning slightly. Deciding to enter, he cautiously opens the door, announcing his intention. Inside, he notices many medicinal plants and vessels, which piques his interest. He wonders if the young man is a healer, and notices something unusual on a shelf. Realizing that he entered without permission, he feels embarrassed and realizes that it was rude. The leader resolutely leaves, promising to return later. The noise of footsteps and the creaking of the door create an atmosphere of anticipation. Suddenly he stops, hearing a strange sound, and his attention is caught by something unusual. He turns around and notices a rustling sound coming from one of the vessels. Intrigued, he cautiously opens the lid, expecting to see something important. His surprise increases when a spider appears inside, staring at him intently. Shocked, he looks around, not believing his eyes. Then he opens a drawer and a brightly colored lizard pops out. This leaves him even more surprised and bewildered. The leader, with an expression of surprise, stands in a room full of drawers. He opens one of them and sees strange bugs inside. His attention is then drawn to another container containing unusual seeds or cocoons. In the next drawer, he discovers the skin of snakes. Amazed by what he sees, he cannot believe his eyes. His thoughts turn to the fact that this place might be breeding venomous creatures. He ponders the fact that even poison experts can only extract the poison, but are unable to increase the numbers of such creatures. He recalls how he had hoped to find a means to save his daughter, but instead discovered something more. Determination appears in his eyes and he clenches his fist, realizing the importance of his discovery. The young man, noticing the chapter, exclaims in surprise. He runs down the street and inquires about the wound on the chapter's arm. The leader replies that it is nothing serious and expresses a desire to talk. Suddenly, however, a strange sound catches their attention. The leader turns around sharply, warily asking who is there. A bright glow appears in the background, and a sinister figure surrounded by purple flames begins to emerge from the doorway. The creature, looking menacing with a devilish grin, approaches. The head warns the young man at the last moment to step aside, protecting him from the impending danger. A tense battle unfolds in the center of events. A red hand exuding power rushes towards its target, tearing the air. He rushes at the leader with a wild scream, who tries to defend himself. Suddenly, two forces collide in the air. A fighter with a courageous face full of determination strikes, battling his opponent. A blast of energy illuminates the space and the opponent is thrown back. Despite the fury of battle, the fighter finds himself on his knees, holding his wounded side. He realizes that the opponent is equal in strength to his father, and warns the young man of the danger, urging him to flee. At this time, the opponent, grasping the young man by the neck, lifts him into the air. The man calls for help in desperation, but the adversary only laughs, enjoying his power. The angry asshole claims to have learned of the arrival of the Tang clan men on Hainan Island and found their head wounded. In response, the leader bewilderedly asks who he is and how he knows him. The enemy laughs and reminds him of his face and red fist, calling himself the Bloody Rakshasas, who was made that way by the leader's father. The adversary is recalled being hit in the head with a poison arrow and thrown off a cliff, but survived. The leader, realizing the gravity of the situation, tries to save the boy by offering himself in exchange, but the enemy refuses, saying he is going to kill everyone in his path. The boy, terrified and suffocating, ends up in the hands of the adversary. The adversary threatens his life with a devilish laugh, and the boy begs for help. The young boy exclaims, frightened by what is happening. Sinister eyes glow in the air, creating a tense atmosphere. Suddenly, the enemy is attacked by small Scolopendra cubs. Rakshasas, covered in scars, furiously tries to fight off these creatures. He is confused by their appearance and tries to figure out what these creatures are, calling them Scolopendras. Despite his certainty that they will not harm him, he suddenly begins to feel pain. The creatures continue their attack, and the enemy, cursing them, begins to weaken. Eventually, he falls to the ground, and the young man watching the scene exclaims in surprise, unable to believe that the enemy could have died so quickly. Against the backdrop of ancient architecture, the young man stands over his defeated foe, wondering if he was really a bad man. At this, the leader watches in amazement, realizing that the young man is not a freeloader at all, but a worthy man who should join their clan. A few days after Tak Un-Yang's murder, the scene is still covered in cracks. A sigh of relief can be heard inside the building. A young man carefully tends to the injured man, wiping his face with a damp cloth. The wounded man thanks the young man for his help, but the young man offers to find out where his men are so he can go get them. The young man, with a concerned face, sits next to the man lying on the bed with a bandage on his forehead. The young man says he can't leave the man alone, because then he won't be able to leave to get his medicine. The man reassures him that everything will be fine and he will be fine in a few days. The young man looks at the man and remembers how he recently coughed up blood, which makes him fearful and worried. He yells that the man is in critical condition and shouldn't be so calm. The man tries to calm him down, assuring him that he is fine, but he coughs up blood again. The man smiles, though he looks tired, and says he's fine. The guy is stunned by the man's calmness and even asks how he can be like this considering his condition. The man then says that he is from Murim. The guy is surprised and exclaims, "What?" He can't believe what he's heard. As Murim is a completely different place where everyone flies swords using different techniques, the man confirms and adds that not everyone in Murim has powers, but he is right that many can fight using techniques and fly. The young man is stunned and exclaims in admiration that this is indeed another world. This is the only way to explain the existence of a huge scolopendra that was the size of a building. The man thanks the boy for his help, adding that he was very lucky to have met him. He asks the boy to introduce himself. The young boy replies that his name is Wiso Ryong, to which the man introduces himself as Tan Chul-san, the head of the Sichuan Tang clan. The man, smiling faintly, notes that the boy's name means little dragon, and it's a beautiful name. Tang Chul-sang turns to Wiso Ryong, noting that he has questions, and wonders if he can ask them. Wiso Ryong replies in agreement, listening intently. Tang Chul-sang asks if the small creatures on Wiso Ryong are scolopendra, to which he confirms. They're baby giant scolopendra with blue spots. Tang Chul-sang is surprised to learn that Wiso Ryong has tamed these cubs and abruptly sits down, which alarms Wiso Ryong, who asks him not to get up so quickly. Tang Chul-sang, oblivious to his condition, is even more surprised, asking how Wiso Ryong managed to do that. Wiso Ryong laughs and explains that while he was waiting for Tang Chul-sang here, he accidentally spotted another poisonous critter. Wiso Ryong is about to tell a long story, and Jang Seol agrees to listen to it. Seo Ryong starts off by saying that he once found scolopendra eggs. Chul-sang listens intently as Seo Ryong continues his story. He elaborates that he decided to take the eggs and raise the scolopendra, knowing the approximate time they would hatch. Tang Chul-sang is clearly shocked by these words, wondering how Wiso Ryong knew the hatching time. Wiso Ryong asks Tang Chul-sang to wait a bit and reaches into a drawer to pull something out. Wiso Ryong happily shows Tang Chul-sang the two small creatures he's holding. He proudly points out that they're regular lizards with yellow stripes on their bodies and white stripes on their tails. Next, Wiso Ryong shows another lizard and explains that he chose the specimens with the most stripes and crossed them, resulting in a lizard with two colors. Tang Chul-sang, stunned by the result, exclaims that it's incredible. Tang Chul-sang asks in bewilderment if Wiso Ryong really made the lizard have that color. Wiso Ryong replies enthusiastically that that was his goal, and he succeeded. Tang Chul-sang seems shocked to see Wiso Ryong doing such a successful job. Tang Chul-sang says that if Wiso Ryong can combine creatures with different poisonous properties, then maybe he can create a critter with the most powerful poison. Wiso Ryong interjects in surprise, not understanding what exactly Tang Chul-sang means. Wiso Ryong thinks for a moment and remarks that it's not impossible. Seo Ryong continues, stating that if they can determine whose poison is stronger, they might be able to achieve it. However, Seo Ryong also admits that it won't be easy, much to the surprise of Wi Chul-sang, who wasn't expecting such a twist. Tang Chul-sang decisively tells Wiso Ryong to join their clan. Wiso Ryong reacts stunned at the suggestion, not even believing his ears. Tang Chul-sang tries to convince him, promising that the clan will teach him martial arts and give him access to elixirs, herbs, and poisons, anything he wants. Wiso Ryong looks confused and slightly bewildered by this flood of offers. Tang Chul-sang adds that with Wiso Ryong's help, they'll be able to grow the 10 most poisonous creatures of the Middle China Plain. If his words don't convince him, he starts talking about the most beautiful women in the entire plain, mentioning that his daughter is also among them. Wiso Ryong can't stand it and yells for Tang Chul-sang to stop. Tang Chul-sang, with a sly smile, comments that despite his age, Wiso Ryong is still a man for reacting like that. Wiso Ryong, clearly confused, asks Tang Chul-sang to clarify what he's talking about, referring to the previous one. Wiso Ryong then clarifies if those 10 poisonous creatures are really as majestic as a giant scolopendra. Tang Chul-sang confirms with certainty and even adds that the scolopendra, though magnificent, is no match for the legendary 10. Tang Chul-sang describes a variety of creatures, from temple-sized scorpions to golden frogs, emphasizing that the existence of such critters is beyond ordinary. Wiso Ryong is surprised and his face clearly expresses it, but Tang Chul-sang, grinning, is clearly enjoying the situation. Wiso Ryong looks at Tang Chul-sang with a satisfied smile, who says that apparently the young man has accepted his invitation. Wiso Ryong looks determined and inspired. 2 days pass and we are still at the young man's temple. People are gathered on the grounds discussing the events. One of the clan members excitedly asks if they have seen the bloody Rakshas attack Wu Yang. This seems to be a serious event for everyone present. Tang Chul-sang replies that they did indeed almost get in trouble, but apparently Tak Wu Yang has been honing his martial arts all along since he was on the same level as Tang Chul-sang's father. Wiso Ryong and the rest of the clan members listen with obvious interest. The other clan members remark that since they destroyed Tak Wu Yang, they've reached the perfect level, and congratulate Tang Chul-sang. Tang Chul-sang smilingly replies that it's not like that and mentions that it wasn't him who destroyed the bloody Rakshasa, but a young man, referring to Wiso Ryong. The clan members are stunned by this statement. They can't believe that a boy could do this. One of them approaches Wiso Ryong, exclaiming that he must be a reincarnated person to be able to do such a thing. Ryung, clearly confused and surprised, repeats the question, not understanding what the question is about. Tang Chul-sang suggests that Ryung show the others what he showed him earlier to avoid misunderstandings. Ryung, a little hesitant, pulls out his pets, addressing them, "Guys, get out." He opens his clothes, and small creatures emerge from inside. The other clan members, surprised by the appearance of the scorpions, wonder. Centipedes. Ryung explains that they are the babies of a giant scolopendra, and that they were the ones that killed Tak Woo-young. This brings a new flood of questions from the clan members. They're shocked that Ryung was able to tame such dangerous creatures, and whether they actually possess strong venom. Chul-sang reveals that he's offered the young man to join their clan, and Ryung is thinking about it for now. The others support the idea, assuring him that it's a good idea. Suddenly, everyone stops and looks back at Tang Chul-sang, who rises, clutching his hand and saying that it's time to get up and that it can't be allowed to get too late. Ryung turns to him in surprise, asking if he needs to look for something again. Tang Chul-sang replies with a meaningful silence, hinting that the situation is much deeper than it seems. Tang Chul-sang, with a look of determination on his face, talks about the enemy called Blood Rakshasa Tak Unyong. He explains that the enemy uses a special skill, Blood Poison Claws, which requires the blood and brains of others to increase strength. This is a truly terrifying technique. Ryung is shocked when he hears about this martial art and sees Tak Woon-yang's terrifying appearance. He loudly expresses his bewilderment, not understanding how such a thing can exist. Tang Chul-sang, with a serious expression on his face, continues to explain that such a horror cannot be allowed to spread throughout Murim. He emphasizes that if the enemy has a legacy or followers, they will have to destroy them to prevent further calamities. He also adds that if anyone has become a prisoner of Tak Unyong, they must be rescued. The young men surrounding Tang Chul-sang agree with him and express their support for his plan. Tang Chul-sang turns to Ryung, inviting him to join their clan, as he knows the area better and his help will be very important. The young man ponders, realizing that such an offer could mean that a long partnership like a lifelong attachment awaits him. In the end, Ryung agrees to help. The men around him rejoice at his decision, and Tang Chul-sang praises him wholeheartedly for this choice, emphasizing that their goal is to save people. With determination in his eyes, the young man declares that he will study the Sichuan Tang clan thoroughly. His little companions actively express support, radiating confidence. He adds that competent people always conduct a reverse interview, which makes his onlookers look at him with surprise and respect. 3 days pass after Chul-sang's chapter is reinstated. A group led by him and a young man arrive at a village near the temple to learn more about the place where the bloody Rakshasa Tak Unyong lived. The villagers, upon seeing the visitors, listen to their questions. The old man replies with a concerned expression that sometimes people do go missing, though it is rare 1 or 2 people a year are lost in the jungle. Head Chul-sang listens thoughtfully to the old man and expresses his gratitude for the information. In response, the old man says that helping the head of the famous Sichuan Tang clan is an honor. The group decides to continue their journey and reminds each other to be careful. Unfortunately, the search is unsuccessful. They find no traces, which is noticeably disappointing for all involved. The head and the young man, undaunted, move forward with the others, intent on not giving up. Their determination is expressed in their looks as they enter the jungle, ready for a new challenge. Ryung and his companions discuss the search in the village. He wonders what to do if there are no leads in the other village as well. Chul-sang ponders that their target must be somewhere nearby, considering they were spotted by a certain Yang. He admits that the search has been harder than expected. Ryung wonders why their target can't be tracked. The words that people from the Tang clan arrived on Hainan Island come to his mind. He tries to remember what Bloody Rakshasa said when he appeared, but the group leader doesn't remember the details. It's no wonder, since the head was busy herding the pile at the time. Ryung assumes that someone may have accidentally reported their arrival. They decide to go around all the places they passed and use the flyers to ask people about Yang. Ryung and his companions gather in the shade of the trees, discussing the unexpected discovery that caught them off guard. The leader, gazing pensively into the distance, recalls recent words that have now taken on new meaning. He assumes that someone already knew of their arrival, and this realization brings a certain relief as their task becomes clearer. Determined to waste no time, they agree to set off immediately. The group moves cautiously through the narrow streets of a village surrounded by tall palm trees whose leaves rustle in the wind. They discuss that this may be the same village they have been told about, where the inhabitants are suffering from an unknown disease. Despite the disturbing rumors, the young man notices that the locals don't seem to be hostile to outsiders, which reassures them a little. There is a deceptive calm in the village. At first glance, life seems to be going on as usual, but there is tension in the air, as if the villagers are expecting something bad to happen. A group of travelers arrive in the village and greet the locals. One of them, sitting on the porch, watches the newcomers carefully. Soon, one of the village representatives asks about the purpose of the visit to the village. The leader introduces himself as Tan Sang, the head of the Tan clan, and begins to explain the reason for their appearance. Meanwhile, a young man notices that there is a lack of life in the village, and even the children look exhausted. He is stunned by this discovery and inwardly wonders about the state of the locals, noting that they seem strangely apathetic. The village elder, talking to the young man, assures him that everything is calm and no one has gone missing. Despite these words, however, the atmosphere in the village remains tense and the villagers continue to seem aloof. The village elder sternly orders the travelers to leave. He looks determined and adamant. Chul Sang notices that there are fewer residents than houses in the village and tries to find out the reason. However, the elder replies sharply that it's none of their business and insists that they leave the village. The young man, a little embarrassed, recalls saying that he was told that the locals were not hostile to outsiders. Chul San reacts to the situation with bewilderment, emphasizing that this is clearly not the case. Suddenly, a little girl named Meijin faints. The elder, worried, runs up to her and exclaims that she's the only one he has left. He's clearly desperate and worried about her health, not understanding how she could have gotten infected. As such, Chul Sang offers his help and asks permission to examine the girl. He explains that he is not a healer, but has some skills. The elder agrees, asking him to do what he can to save the child. Actually, some time ago, a strange plague began spreading in our village. The children have gradually started to die, and the adults are also falling ill and weakening. I see. Let me take a look. Thank you so much. Please come inside. What are you waiting for? Bring the healer and the group inside. You know medicine as well. Elder, Seo Ryong asked. Yes, our Duong family's martial arts involve handling toxins, so we're also skilled in pharmacology. Furthermore, our martial arts are rooted in understanding the body, which requires some medical knowledge. Seo Ryong thought, I assumed they were simply a group of assassins skilled in poison. If I join the Duong sect in Sichuan, not only would I learn deadly martial arts, but gaining medical knowledge wouldn't be bad either. Someone beside them added, of course, sometimes we capture wrongdoers and inject poison into them to observe the effects. Seo Ryong thought, human experimentation, that's a bit. These people are indeed quite frightening. A little while later, in another room, the elder began transferring inner energy to stabilize the child's breathing. Thank you, sir. The elder of the village said, this is my only granddaughter. Please save her. Incidentally, her pulse is unstable, very strange. Was her heart weak from birth? No, her condition only started worsening. About half a year ago, not just my granddaughter, but many others have also started falling ill and weakening. We call it the strange illness. That's why I asked you to leave from the village entrance earlier. The elderly man explains that leprosy has spread in the village and he did not want the disease to spread to their guests, so he asked them to leave. The older man understands his concern and offers to gather all the villagers to test a remedy for the disease. The elderly man cries gratefully, expressing his gratitude, and the older man responds with kindness. Later that night, under the light of the moon, the men discuss the work they have done and the symptoms of the disease. One of them remarks that each patient shows different symptoms, but those who have gotten worse have had fever, intermittent breathing, and inflammation. Chul Sang asked about the boy, wondering about his absence. He was told that he had been helping as best he could, but had grown tired, so he had been sent to rest. Chul Sang noted that for an untrained body that had not studied martial arts, such exertion might be too much. At that moment, the boy, barely keeping himself on his feet, tried to convince them that he was fine, even though his tired appearance said otherwise. Chul Sang smiles and decides to check on the boy, going to see him, and one of the companions decides to accompany him. When the door to the boy's room is ajar, the light sound of footsteps can be heard on the floor. The boy is sound asleep on the bed when a man enters the room with a wary but determined expression on his face. His footsteps sound confident, and as he stops at the bedside, he raises his hand sharply, preparing to do something. The harsh light from his palm is directed towards the boy and he wakes up, dazed and frightened. The man looks at him, full of determination, but the boy is shocked out of his wits trying to realize what is happening, shrieking in fright and painful shock. Waking up from his sudden awakening, the boy stares at the man in amazement, not understanding his intentions. Chul Sang stands before him, serious and wary, and the young man says demurely, "Leader." He doesn't understand why he was hit. The young man dazedly touches his cheek, stunned by the blow. His face expresses pain and confusion, and his eyes are moistened with tears. He can't hold back and exclaims indignantly, accusingly, "You!" Seo Ryong questions why he was hit so hard, complaining that it hurt so much. The man lying next to him apologizes, claiming that he just wanted to catch an insect that was supposedly crawling on his face. The young man looks at him in disbelief, clarifying, "What? An insect?" Chul Sang excuses himself and says that he wanted to check on him before going to bed, and after noticing a bug on his face, he decided to catch it. He points out that there are a lot of poisonous insects in the area, and he thought it was dangerous to leave it on the young man. Chul Sang assures him that his hand involuntarily went up. Then he nervously opens his palm and, showing it, says, "Look, it was a huge insect." Seo Ryung stares with surprise and incomprehension, trying to comprehend the explanation. The guy, looking at the bug in surprise, says, Why is it here?" He strains to recall the patient's symptoms and concludes that all had heart arrhythmia despite having different medical conditions. This leads him to speculate that the bug is the cause of the illness. It is shown that the insect belongs to the family Reduviidae and is named kissing bug because it feeds on blood from the lip or eye area. This insect acts so stealthily that its bite is less noticeable than a mosquito bite. Because of these abilities, they have been nicknamed killer bedbugs or vampire bugs. Although bedbugs themselves are not poisonous, their stomachs are filled with harmful parasites. If a bedbug bites a person, they can easily become infected through the insect's feces, which explains the outbreak in the village. Seo Ryong explains that bites from insects called kissing bugs cause Chagas disease, which is known as trypanosomiasis. He adds that these insects are one of the most dangerous creatures that have killed many people. Seo Ryong asks the elder if the village's dogs are experiencing breathing problems or exhibiting similar symptoms as humans. The elder confirms that the dogs also have similar symptoms, prompting them to link these problems to bedbugs. The elder then asks in desperation if this means they can save his granddaughter. Seo Ryong replies that it's possible if they can find the right medicine. At this point, a satisfied smile appears on the man's face and he lets out a satisfied chuckle. Chul Sang turns to his assistant and asks his opinion. The man confidently replies that he sees the young warrior's worth. At this time, the young man himself, sitting nearby, watches their strange behavior in amazement, not understanding what is going on. The man then announces that they belong to the Tang family of Sichuan. Seo Ryung interjects in bewilderment. "So what?" Tang Chul Sang begins to explain about creatures called gu, parasites that some people think are poisonous and others think are witchcraft. The man goes on to explain that gu parasites are insects bred by evil people in China. He says that these creatures are used to hurt or subjugate people, forcing them to do what their owners want. Control people? That's terrifying, Seo Ryong said. As powerful as they are, many people in the martial world have died because of this horrible thing. Some have even killed their own children, committed suicide, or betrayed their families, becoming slaves to these wicked people. Hearing this, the elder behind them cried out in fear. "Oh heavens, this is horrible." That's why, for a long time, people in the martial world have worked to create an antidote for this GU poison. A medicine that forces the parasites out of the body or dissolves them completely. If the martial world has made such an antidote, where would they have created it? Of course, in the Duong family of Sichuan, if there's a medicine that can dissolve a lump the size of a fist inside the body, then these tiny parasites are no problem. It's called the Qinggu dissolving pill. Just a small dose of this medicine is enough. Seo Ryong thought that's an impressive name for an anti-parasite medicine. So don't worry, elder, your granddaughter can be saved. The narrator continued, starting with the village chief's granddaughter. The villagers gradually regained their health. Oh, thank goodness, we're so lucky. The warm welcome from the villagers was an additional reward. Seeing their bright faces, it seemed that the reputation of the women's friendly nature was true. If the young master hadn't discovered the cause, it would have been difficult to help them. The real benefactor isn't me. Cheat Sun said, "It's this young master here." "Thank you, young master. Thank you so much, young master. You are the hero of our village." Seo Ryong thought, although the villagers were treated with medicine from the Duong family, Chiat-san has given all the credit to me. Seeing everyone's gratitude directed at me, he looks as happy as if it were his own success. It's really touching. Sometime after that, Chiat-san asked the elder, "You mentioned something at the village entrance earlier. What was that about?" "We've been searching for the village, where people have gone missing." "Ah, that's true. But why ask?" Chiat-san replied, "I wanted to repay the kindness. So I looked into it a bit and heard a strange story. In our village, there's a girl who was married from another village. Her parents' village experienced something strange. A few years ago, people there started disappearing one by one. Cheat-san thought this might be a clue. Where is this place? To the west, there's a small village. Seo Ryong's group headed to another area. When they arrived, they found a gruesome scene. It looks like the place. "Master, what is this?" A chill ran down their spines. There's a deadly toxin present as well. explaining deadly toxin refers to the toxic gases that are released as bodies decompose. A chill ran down his spine. Don't let the young master see this scene. I've already seen it, Xiao Ryong replied, looking in the direction where something had caught his eye. Suddenly, a foot moved slightly, and it swallowed the head of a snake, devouring it whole. A bird? No, we can't let the dead be further desecrated. Hey, get out of here, he shouted. Thrown a rock. The bird turned angrily toward the group, and Xiao Ryong yelled, "Stop that thing, something's not right." The bird flapped its wings and took off, leaving Xiao Ryong speechless. No way, it's melting. Everyone move away, that's a gen bird. The scene shifted to a different location when it spread its wings. They could stretch 5 meters wide with a bright copper-colored spear, sharp beak and feathers of dark purple. When enraged, it spread its wings, turning everything around it to darkness, leaving a toxic residue with a golden crown upon its head and aura befitting an emperor. People call this creature the Gen Emperor bird. Could it be one of the 10 deadly venoms? Chi-Et-Sun replied, yes, it is the king among the 10 deadly venoms, hailed as the ruler of all creatures. The Gen bird, the emperor of the 10 deadly venoms. Xiao Ryong thought, this is terrifying, unbelievably powerful. Venomous species and venomous snakes on Earth are like harmless pets in comparison. Here, it's like a flying biological weapon, Cheat-san continued. It seems it was lured here by the snakes carrying deathly toxins. It's said that the Gen bird only consumes the heads of the most venomous snakes. Could this be an omen? Yes. Indeed, it's incredibly rare to witness a Jin bird in one's lifetime. So rare, it's said to be seen once in a century. If ever. Well, what, young master? Don't tell me you want to capture it? You're thinking of capturing it, young master? Haha. Yes, but with its potent venom. The elder laughed. You seem very interested in the 10 deadly venoms. If that's the case, there is a way. Yes, a way, really? Xiao Ryong asked, intrigued. If you master the Duan family's venom arts, your body can become immune to all poisons, even able to resist the Gen bird's toxins. In this world, only the Duong sect's martial arts can block such a venom. But, Cheat-san hesitated. Our Duong sect's secret techniques are not taught to outsiders. Even if I wanted to help you as the head of the family, I cannot break the clan's rules. If I were to become a member of the Duong family, could I learn it? And if I reached the level of full immunity, could I truly resist the Gen bird's venom? Of course, if you make a firm decision now, I won't hesitate to teach you everything. Naturally, your formal induction will be taken care of properly. But if you remain uncertain for too long, I'll have to reconsider, right? Damn it, I agreed to join the Duong family. I humbly request your guidance. Elder? No. Family head. Really? Haha. Excellent. From this day forward, you are forever a member of the Duong family. At the hideout of the blood-handed demon, Thak Van Duong, one of Cheat-sun's companions spoke up. It's deep within the cave. These blood-written inscriptions. They are indeed the secrets of the blood-handed venom master. Written in blood? Let's head back. Are we going to Sichuan now? Yes, we've obtained the inner core of the blue-spotted centipede and the secret manual. Can we stop by the temple briefly? I'd like to release some of my friends. All right. I'll also prepare your traveling gear. As they started to walk away, Xiao Ryong suddenly stopped, pointing towards a glowing object and saying, there's something over there. What is this? Chi-Et-Sun picked it up, recognizing it as a feather from the Gen bird. Consider this a gift to celebrate your joining the Duong family. It seems you're quite fascinated by it. Thank you, elder. No, family head. Everything is going well, but I'd prefer if you'd call me something else. Let's wait until the initiation ceremony, and then I'll adjust the titles accordingly. Xiao Ryong thought, a ceremony? Is it like an initiation ritual? At the same time, back at the Duan family in Sichuan, a messenger reported, Grandmaster, the Supreme Family Head, Duan Votan, who departed earlier, has finally arrived. Hurry, how is Nananai? She's still holding on to life. Quick, take me to Nananai, father and daughter-in-law. I have brought the medicine. This is the inner core of the blue-spotted centipede. You succeeded, Grandmaster. He took out the core. Looking at the girl lying weakly on the ground. Nonene akai. It was almost a disaster. Thankfully, I made it in time. Father, give her the medicine quickly. He placed the core into the girl's mouth, and a green light reflected outward. With his hand, he felt her pulse. He thought to himself, please wake up. Meanwhile, Xiao Ryong was thinking, I'd heard the Central Plains were vast, but I never imagined they would be this immense. After traveling from Hainan to Hangzhou by boat and passing through Nanning, they completed a month-and-a-half journey, finally arriving in Sichuan. This is the Duong family in Sichuan. Young master, the entire mountain belongs to the Duong family, so it's called Duong Family Mountain. At that moment, a large group of people rushed out from within, cheering joyfully, startling Xiao Ryong. He thought, all of these people, they're all from the Duong family in Sichuan. There are so many. Amid the crowd, a young woman dressed in red hurriedly ran forward, calling out from a distance, "Father, Nan and I, you're well again? Father, I'm so sorry. Nan and I, how's your body holding up?" Seo Ryong thought, my God, is this beauty real? In my previous life, I even collaborated with celebrities. But this is the first time I've seen someone radiate such an aura. I have someone I want to introduce to you. Seo Ryong, Cheat's son said, this is my daughter, Duong Nan Ni. Oh, right, you mentioned something about the smell of grass or something. Nani thought to herself, grass, wild grass, right? Yes, this is the wild grass, she replied with a smirk. Seo Ryong looked at her, memories flashing through his mind, remembering how Cheat's son once said, my daughter is one of the 3 treasures of the Central Plains. No, not this wild grass. The narrator continued poison flower. Duong Nan Nhi, the only woman in the Duong family of Sichuan. Since childhood, she carried burdens that few could understand while her talents weren't immediately clear. Her beauty was so exceptional that she was hailed as one of the 3 beauties of the martial world. People suggested that she marry an appropriate suitor and even bring in concubines to expand the family. But the family had opposed this non-Nhi thought. My mother and father weren't wrong. The narrator continued, Duong Nan Ni was determined to prove her abilities to the elders of the family by mastering her family's martial arts. Although she wasn't a man, she wanted to contribute greatly to the family. But impatience only led her astray, forming inner demons that hindered her progress. Flashback to an earlier time. You survived. Her mother said, tearfully, what should I do? Mother, I'm sorry. Non-Nhi thought, it's over. I once wanted to be useful to the family, but now I've lost all my inner strength. A voice told her, do you feel guilty for causing hardship to your father and grandfather? You've reached the level of immunity to all poisons, the very thing you always wished for. Stop crying and rejoice. Immunity to all poisons? She raised her hand, summoning her inner energy, and said, this is me now, Nan and I. She thought, not only did he save my life, but he also helped me achieve a higher level of inner power, surpassing immunity to all poisons. Returning to the present, wild grass, Seo Ryong thought, facing her and recalling his previous thoughts, realizing his mistake of calling the esteemed young lady of a noble family, wild grass. He quickly composed himself and said, ahaha, family head, you have a great sense of humor. It's an honor to meet you, young lady. I am Wei Seo Ryong. I heard you were ill before, but seeing you well now is truly a blessing. Yes, it's a pleasure to meet you. I am Poison Flower Duong Nan Ni. Thank you for saving my life. A debt I will never forget. Seo Ryong thought, she's truly beautiful. Beside him, Cheat's son leaned over and whispered, well, what do you think? Seo Ryong was startled, hearing a voice in his head. Is this transmitting thoughts? Cheat's son continued speaking in Seo Ryong's mind. Even wild grass can be beautiful, don't you think? The red spider lily, you want to pick it, don't you? The scene changed and Seo Ryong thought to himself, oh no, I'm in trouble. Usually, she doesn't cling to me all day like this. Hot water isn't good for the body. Seo Ryong advised, do you want to dip into the tub for a bit? Just as he finished speaking, it jumped right in, as if it understood him. How strange, it seems to understand part of what we're saying. According to Elder Chiat's son, it appears to react to killing intent. Staring intently at a bare body could make anyone embarrassed. Haha, these little creatures are something else. He laughed. Old Nine Failures once said that the centipedes were spiritual creatures. I'll have to ask later what a spiritual creature really means. She had sons. Words kept echoing in my head, making it hard to stay calm. The red spider lily is truly beautiful. He had said, would you like to try plucking one? I'd better get out of here quickly. The next morning, we'll arrange for the young master to stay in the East Wing Room. Explanation of the East Wing Room in traditional Chinese architecture, especially in Saheyuan-style homes. The East Wing Room is a prestigious guest room. Having a guest stay there signifies great honor. A young master this talented? Indeed, we thought we were fortunate. But it turns out the fortune wasn't thanks to his help. The fortune itself is the young master. His knowledge of poisonous creatures is extraordinary, and he even managed to defeat Thak Van Duong. Not to mention encountering a legendary creature like the Gen bird. I heard he even hatched the blue-spotted centipede egg himself. Haha, who knew I'd overlook such a treasure? Indeed, father, Nan Ni replied. I think we should consider him as a prospective son-in-law. What do you think, daughter? You mean you want him to be your son-in-law? Yes, as my son-in-law. At this, all eyes turned to Nan Ni. Awaiting her response, she thought, I have surpassed immunity to all poisons and reached the celestial poison level. I want to prove I can contribute even more to the family. Nan and I replied, Father, I am part of the Duong family, and I understand what you mean by this, but whether this young master is truly worthy, I need to verify that myself. With that, she left the others behind, quietly exiting the room. The elder thought, be careful, young master. The red spider lily may be beautiful, but it has sharp thorns. Nanai thought to herself, I now aim to cultivate the celestial poison body. If I stop here, the elders of the family won't fully recognize me. I must thoroughly examine his character and values. What do I do? Seo Ryong thought. It seems I've left a bad impression on the young lady of this great family. Father, how should I handle this? Running up, Nanni called out, young master. Ah, Miss Nanni. Seo Ryong replied, please excuse my delay. I was in a hurry. May I borrow your hand for a moment? Yes, miss, but I don't know what's so urgent. But perhaps we should save these matters for when we're a bit closer. Isn't that right? He said with a slight hesitation. These things, there should be some formalities. No? What do you mean? Non-Nhi stammered, suddenly realizing, no, it's not what you think. What are you even saying? Xiaolong thought, wait, that's not it at all, is it? Do you want part 2? Write a secret word in the comments. Poison. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. The more likes you get, the faster new parts of your favorite titles come out. That's it. See you again and bye-bye.